Alrighty then. Oh my gosh, isn't that from The Mask from like the 90s? I never really cared for that movie, to be honest. Even though I was very young when it came out. All right. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping before I jump into this review. You're going to know it's The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. Let's just go ahead on and put this up here. Get this out of the way. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping. If you have been watching my channel for a while, none of this is going to be a shock to you because you've been watching me for a while and what you see is what you get. I still find it absolutely hilarious when I get comments, and I can tell that there are people who are like stopping by once to watch a particular review and then they roll out. Fine. You ramble too much. Get to the point, or I stopped watching. Okay, bye. You didn't hurt my feelings. Like I say, this is not an airport. You do not have to announce your arrival and departure because we don't care. You must be new here, and I'm not. This is my. This is what really humors me about the internet, and I see this on YouTube in particular. I don't like the way you do this. I'm not talking about just my channel. I don't like this. I don't like. Then don't watch. It's free. It's free. YouTube ain't paying these bills. Trust. It's free, honey. You can just exit right on out. Because the audacity to get up here in the comments and tell somebody else how to run their channel is wild to me. Wild. Like, we don't care. We don't care. Also, I see people leave things in comments and it's oversharing. And some of the stuff that I see doesn't happen often, but some of the stuff I see, I'm like, that's technically considered personal/private information. Please be aware of the stuff that you're leaving in comments. Please don't leave health information in comments. Past health issues. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's personal. And you know, this day and age with security breaches and all these other stuff and hackers, they can use a lot of stuff and figure out how to hack you. And then some of you got your full name. You have the full name in your handle, then you're sharing personal information. Just FYI, like, don't do it. That's not the wisest thing to do. Number 3, it really humors me how people assume so much about the person behind the camera that it makes me laugh. I have seen people make assumptions about me and I literally chuckle because it's 100% wrong all the time. I'm thinking, there was a guy who taught history at my middle school. He said, you're loud and you're wrong. Y'all be loud and wrong. Loud and wrong. Just making assumptions. And I'm sitting here like, you really made, what? Where did you put A plus B and equals D? Because you're wrong. And some people are well-meaning, but you're wrong. Stop making assumptions about the people that you're watching, or stop making assumptions on Instagram about stuff. We not telling you our business. Why would I do that? We're here to talk about books. And the little bit that I do share is so minor. You really think I'm going to be on this internet putting my business out there, good or bad? Because life's for everybody. Do you really think I'm going to sit here and put my personal business, good or bad, on the internet publicly? No. No, ma'am. No, sir. Like, that really cracks me up. People have made assumptions. Oh, you seen this. You seen that. Oh. And 100% wrong. The internet is something else, let me tell you. We're here to talk about books, so let's talk about this book. And if you're new here and this is the first time you've seen me, hi, my name is Alana. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And Alana is blunt. Okay? I don't... I've already put the book here. I'm recording this way later than I had intended in the day. It's already 12:34 p.m. Side note. I'm currently in a caloric surplus. Whose business is that? It's now your business. Again, this is what I mean when I share minor stuff. So I'm one of those people who's fascinated by, well, I have to in a sense because I have, ballet, burns a lot of calories, and I have to eat accordingly. And as things get more intense, as the dances get harder, the technique gets more difficult, you burn more calories. And so, man, I'm over here. I have to adjust. And so I told one of my friends, she's into fitness. I said, oh man, this was like back in the beginning of August. I was like, girl, my breakfast total was over 700 calories. Just my breakfast. And I forgot how many grams of protein it was. It was wild. And she was like, how did you manage to do that? I said, girl, I ate a massive breakfast burrito, and I've been eating the most delicious breakfast burritos over the past month. The tortilla has a substantial amount of protein in it, bacon, eggs, potatoes. And then once you add in my cup of coffee, and I use whole milk, I know, shock horror, cow's milk, I can't drink oat milk or almond milk. It tastes like a long sleeve t-shirt. It's disgusting, and it's got no protein in it at all. I will get the shakes. Delicious though. Absolutely delicious with the coffee and the massive protein, all the protein and the carbs and the healthy fats in that breakfast burrito. That thing keeps me full. And I still got 4 meals to go. Let's jump into The Sun Also Rises, because this is my first Hemingway, and I've got some things to say. This is my first Hemingway. This is Hemingway's first novel, and I know that Hemingway is hit or miss for people. I feel like Hemingway puts readers in two camps. They love him or they hate him. Then there's a few of us currently in the middle. I'm in the middle. We're going to talk about that at the end, because I haven't read enough of him to get a thorough feeling, right, about Hemingway. I mistrust all frank and simple people, especially when their stories hold together. So in The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway, obviously, this is a deceptively simple novel. Our narrator, Jake Barnes, is an American expatriate. So this novel oscillates between Paris and Spain, post World War I. And so Hemingway touches on the topics of unrequited love. These characters drink a lot, so there's a lot of drunkenness going on. And he uses the violence of bullfighting, which is going to take place in Spain, of course, to highlight moral depravity, the emptiness in society and in the individual. That was a tongue twister. And social bankruptcy, again, as a whole and at the micro level. And he does it all in this way that is so direct, and the writing is so blunt and so simple, like I just kind of alluded to a few minutes ago. It's deceptively simple, and it was innovative at the time. Like when Hemingway published this novel, it rocked the literary world because no one was writing quite in this way. So the first thing that I noticed in The Sun Also Rises is how Hemingway highlights how life in society went back to its routine after the destruction and violence of World War I. So as you can imagine, as we all know, with World War I, it highlighted how warfare had changed. And then we hadn't even gotten to World War II yet, obviously, where we have atomic bombs, but we have trench warfare and yellow gas, and it's just a different type of combat, and it was just destructive. And I know that word is not even enough. Like, the word destructive is not profound enough for just what World War II did to the psyche of the individuals and society with that type of warfare. And so after all that chaos, how can society go back to being normal? There is this underlying tension between what was and what is. And I think that we can take that and we can use it to apply to post 2020. I don't know if any of you feel like this, but there's 2019 and prior, and then there's 2020 to now. You could say that 2020 marked the beginning of a new era in how we all live and interact and how we think about things. And yet, There is still this routine that's going on. But I don't think that anybody really, regardless of if we're always thinking about it or not, we know it's there. Society shifted massively and the whole world felt it all at once. That doesn't happen all the time. I think that World War One, World War Two, there are other periods of time. I'm not trying to, belittle other time periods, but 2020 and post is going to be studied for a long time. All along, people were going to work. It felt pleasant to be going to work. So she saw what it was all about, so that it became more something that was going on with a definite end, and less of a spectacle with unexplained horrors. So like I already mentioned, Hemingway is known for his extremely direct, spare, skeletal writing. I don't know if it gets more bare boned than this. I've read some pretty skeletal authors, but Hemingway, he a little bit different. There's just a little oomph that Hemingway has compared to other very spare writers that I've read. It's so simple that you can miss it, what he's really saying. He's hiding the truth in plain sight. And it's so simple, it's nuanced. My brain is trying to formulate how to describe this. He uses very few words to mask deep meanings, and he is forcing the reader, and Hemingway, in his own way, has just said that. He was like, you have to, it's there. It's there. You just have to dig beneath the surface. And if you caught it, you caught it, right? He's throwing hints, catch them. And it's so simple that it's actually complex. And it goes to show you don't always need flowery, descriptive, Victorian language to get the point across. And don't get me wrong, I love flowery, descriptive, poignant, lyrical, sometimes obnoxiously so writing. That it's a different type of beauty. This is something else, and it stands on its own as well. Again, this is post-World War I. So, of course, we're going to have characters in this novel that are still grappling with that trauma. And Hemingway writes it in a way that's, again, easy to overlook. Hemingway, again, is leaving it up to the reader to figure it out and read between the lines. I had a feeling, as in a nightmare, of it all being something repeated, something I had been through and that now I must go through again. I thought you weren't going to talk about it. How can I help it? You'll lose it if you don't talk about it. I just talk around it. That last quote is so... I feel like in a way Hemingway's being a little cheeky here because he's talking around it, but he's talking about it at the same time. And again, he's going to let the reader figure it out. So Hemingway also depicts just how depraved society is. People are fickle. Society is corrupt. It's morally lacking. These are topics in literature that I latch onto. And so when I see them, I'm going to talk about it. So these characters, they're drinking, they're gambling, they're watching violent bullfights. It can be a little coarse at times what some of these characters choose to talk about. But again, this is post-World War I. And it's just exposing that human nature is just capable of the utmost depravity, and none of us are immune to it, and all of us can fall into some type of depravity or evil. How did you go bankrupt? Bill asked. 2 ways, Mike said, gradually and then suddenly. No idea of retribution or punishment, just exchange of values. You gave up something and got something else, or you worked for something. The world was a good place to buy in. It seemed like a fine philosophy. That was morality. Things that made you disgusted afterward. No, that was immorality. Everybody behaves badly, I said. Give them the proper chance. We have all behaved badly at some point or other, right? None of us are perfect. There's also a sense of fatalism in this novel, And Jake Barnes really is a bit of a sad character. He's melancholy, and you can tell he's currently struggling in this novel with his life, where it seems to be going, what it came from, where is it going, where is it heading? Perhaps he's in a type of limbo. Hemingway's writing a character that's caught in the middle of something, the past and the present, and the past versus the future. And there's a sense of malaise throughout this novel. Don't you ever get the feeling that all your life is going by and you're not taking advantage of it? Do you realize you've lived nearly half the time you have to live already? Can you say existential crisis? Very briefly, there's also a love interest in this novel, and Jake is in love with Brett. However, Brett is unavailable, so we've got some unrequited love going on. And frankly, Brett gets around. Okay, she's something else. She a trip with no luggage. And Hemingway uses the strange dynamic between Jake and Brett to portray that love can actually be quite painful. And again, we have post-World War I in this unrequited love story, and I'm going to be cliche here, but it's fitting. All is fair in love and war. And love, just as much as war, can be a destructive force. And of course, but the aftermath of love, this just came to me. So the aftermath of love is something that's not always visible from the outside in. So somebody could have just gone through major heartbreak and grief, and you can't tell from the outside looking in sometimes. You don't always know the turmoil that somebody's dealing with behind the scenes. That pain is often harbored internally. Whereas with war, you see the destruction on the outside, but there's also PTSD. And when you just go through anything severely traumatic, there's going to be some lingering effects of that. And love is not something that love doesn't always leave people unscathed. Oftentimes, more than not, it doesn't. And, you can talk about Disney love stories all you want, and the perfect ending and the perfect love, and it's just love happily ever after. Not always. Oftentimes, no. And even in the best of situations, in the best of relationships, those relationships have their rough patches. And I think Hemingway is paying homage to that. Love is its own destructive force. It's funny, I said. It's very funny. And it's a lot of fun, too, to be in love. Don't you think so? Her eyes looked flat again. I didn't mean fun that way. In a way, it's an enjoyable feeling. No, she said. I think it's hell on earth. I'm actually going to wrap it up here. And I found, that was kind of abrupt, wasn't it? I found that this book was difficult to review. I buddy read it with a friend. Man, when did I finish this book? That was my funny bone. When did I finish this book? Either late last year or very early this year. And I buddy read it with a friend who is a massive Hemingway fan. She's read way more Hemingway. And of course, this is my first. And I had to process it after. I think it's just because the writing style is different. I had to adjust to how spare his writing is. American authors during this time in particular were very blunt. Look at Fitzgerald. But Hemingway is again, he's doing something different. But its brilliance is in how bare it is. I can already tell how it takes multiple reads of each of his works to peel back just more layers, right? And that, I think, is the mark of true brilliance, where you see one thing, but when you look again and you keep looking, more is revealed. Don't get me wrong. I did find, like I said, I'm still like, what? You know what I mean? This was an experience. I found this novel intriguing. I love the themes. But I still feel like there's something I need to warm up to. And I think that's just going to take spending more time with Hemingway. I can't say I was necessarily floored by this novel, but I was intrigued by it and intrigued enough to continue to, like I said, spend more time with Hemingway, continue to get to know this particular author who is new to me. Again, I can see why people love Hemingway, because you have to keep going back and peeling back more layers. What is he saying here? This is deeper than it looks. And I also can see how some people just blatantly are not going to get on with this type of writing. And, no author, no book is one size fits all. I am currently sitting in the middle when it comes to Hemingway. I'm like, I get it, but I need to spend more time. I feel like I'm repeating myself. And so I am giving this a 3.5 out of 5. Also because it just wasn't my most favorite thing that I've ever read. It's just not. And so when I told my friend I gave it a 3.5, she was like, I think that's fair, actually. Also, this is his first novel and it's not considered his best, even though it is good. Don't get me wrong. But she was like, that's fair. She was like, putting Hemingway in a good, like, upper middle is pretty good. And the reason why some people say, well, you don't have to quantify with the rating. I quantify because that's how my brain works. I'm just intrigued. And I do plan to read more Hemingway. When? Who knows? But I do plan to read more Hemingway. Hemingway fans, Hemingway not fans, have you read The Sun Also Rises? Your thoughts? What's your favorite Hemingway novel if you are a fan of Hemingway? When I posted this review on Instagram not too long ago, people said that where he really shines are his short stories. So I can see that because his language is so concise. I can see how he can pack a lot in like just a few pages. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Hemingway thus far, and again, I feel like even my review was a bit spare, but maybe that's fitting for his writing style. I'm going to wrap up. This was a rambly review, and that's okay. Anyway, please like, subscribe, leave me a comment. Also, feel free to follow me on Instagram where I get up to more book shenanigans. I actually post all of my book content there first. I put all of my book content there first. And I like to post occasionally goofy things in the Instagram stories. And there are things that give me a good chuckle, even if nobody else thinks they're funny. I really don't care. So why am I this way? All right, I'm going to sign out. Bye.